a Pete Primeau fan.
Thank you for having me.
Your fans are like...
What an honor to be here, Pete. You're a legend. You're a rock star.
I'm a legend in my own mind, said my wife.
If I can do it, anybody can do it.
I'm Mr. Selling from the Heart. What's this guy, Larry Levine, going to teach me about selling from the heart?
You are one of the most generous and authentic people around. And I think that's why you and your show are so attractive to people.
Welcome to the Pete Primeau Show. It is episode number 230. I can't believe we're already there. How to work with your spouse and thrive. I will have my wife, and this will be the most entertaining Pete Primeau show ever. Let's pay the bills first. If you haven't bought my book, Sell a Million, what are you waiting for? 101 tips on how to improve your traffic in your store and how to become a more profitable furniture, mattress store, or any business. The best compliment I ever got on this book was from my good friend, Doug Stewart. He said, just take the word mattress out of the book. It's just a great marketing book. And it is a great marketing book. If you haven't got it, grab it. It's on Amazon for, I think, under $15. This is a selling book. This is 43 years of experience, plus 10 others. Randy Thompson, Scott Vaughn, Chris Tahaney, Jeff Giannakovo, Keith Cassinguy, Mel Opp, Justin Trumbo, Brent Batterman, Steve Carnes, and Mark Klingenberg. Some of the best minds in our industry are in this book. So don't buy it because it says Pete Primeau. Buy it because it's just a great sales book that I think everybody will benefit from. You've got 300 weekly sales meetings in your hand when you have this book. So if you grab the book and you have any questions, call me at 419-560-3169. I'm always happy to help. Either book, you have any questions, you need any help implementing anything, absolutely help you for free. If we start to get into hours on end, we'll talk about that. But most people just have a quick question or two. We usually talk for a half hour, and I'd love to have that conversation with you. So buy the book and jump in with both feet. Help your store be the best it can be. Now, I want to thank Steve and Greg for sponsoring the show. If you want to learn how to build, market, sell, and succeed in the mattress industry, join this group. Mattress Industry Network group is, I don't even know how many people are in it anymore. I'm going to guess around 2,400. If you want to learn more, it's absolutely free. Everybody's in here. Whether it's, you need to talk to a VP of sales or whether you want to talk to other store owners, which I highly recommend. So if you want to learn how to build, market, sell, and succeed in the mattress industry, the Mattress Industry Network group is the place to be. And thank you guys for sponsoring the show. Appreciate it. You guys were one of the first to help out. Andrew Burt, happy Monday, mattress friends, and happy Monday to you, my friend, my mattress friend. Do we have anything else, Chris? I think that's it for right now, right? Okay. So without further ado, let's get the stars on. There's my wife, Jenny Primeau from California, and Chris will be asking the questions. Chris Stone is not just a producer. He is also a host. So Chris, I'm going to turn the show over to you, and guys, gals, if you have any questions that you want to ask Jenny or you want to ask me, just jump in there. We've got some questions that people have already asked, but your questions that you're asking live get priority. So ask away. We love to hear what you guys have to say. And any questions that you guys have, just wherever you're watching from, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, just put it in there and Chris will pick it up. Chris?
Pete, I am so excited about this. Jenny Primeau, welcome to the Pete Primeau Show.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's what you're supposed to do as a host, Pete, is welcome the guest. But I guess you were like, here, Chris, take the scepter. It's now yours to introduce the guest. I'm excited about this, and I think a lot of people are as well. A lot of people have asked some of these questions historically, because you'll have, a duo on, you'll have people that are married or people that are partners in life and business. And so I think this is a great time to have this show and, maybe some practical and tactical tips for those of you who have, right now are working with a partner in life and have to kind of manage both business and personal and that whole thing. So I'm excited to get into it. Jenny, how long have you and Pete been married?
Oh boy, since 2004. So we just on June 19th, actually, we just made 21 years. So
congratulations. That is outstanding. Now, before you were married, were you working together in this business? Because I know Pete's been around for 40 plus years. So were you involved in the business at all, or was it just a personal relationship before you guys got married?
He pretty much brought me into the business. The first time we both worked out at the same gym. So he had heard, I think, through the grapevine that I was an accountant. And so he needed to do, one of his manufacturers had said that they had to audit their price lists in Excel or something like that. So he had no interest whatsoever in doing that. So he decided to ask me if I would be willing to do that for him. And he'd pay me, of course. So that was kind of the first time he recruited me into his business. So
Chris, do you want to hear a funny story?
Yes, I would love to hear a funny story.
So she's got a trainer at the gym. His name's Greg, and he's passed on, and he was a friend of mine. And I wanted to take Jenny out to dinner to say thank you, but I thought there was something going on between Jenny and Greg, and I didn't want to cross any lines.
Okay.
So I took them both out to a really nice restaurant, and Greg has to use the bathroom, and Jenny says to me, Pete, this is really a lovely dinner, and thank you so much. I'm really enjoying everything. Do you mind if I ask you why you invited Greg? And so I told her. She told me, and then the reverse happens, and Jenny excuses herself. She goes to the restroom, and Greg leans over. He goes, Pete, this is one of the best dinners I've had in 20 years, man. Thank you so much. He goes, I don't know why you asked me to be here, though. I don't get it. I said, well, I thought you and Jenny, He goes, no, I wish, but no, absolutely not. No. She tells me routinely that I remind her of her father. So, no. So, a funny little story. And yes, it was United Sleep Products, and it was many, many years ago.
2003.
2003. And there's the accountant in her. The precision,
there it is.
Right?
There it is.
They wanted us to do all of our dealers' price lists in Excel, and we had to turn it in by a certain date. And so I'm going to have to learn I'm going to have to learn Excel. No, this isn't happening. So I found the smartest person I could find to do it. She did it, and the rest is history.
That's hilarious. And
I know it didn't scare me away.
It was a warning. The good Lord tried to warn
I
you.
know he tried. He tried.
We've got some folks chiming in, and of course, everyone, the show is live, and we love to get questions. We love to get comments. So please hit us up in whatever chat that you're at. If you're over on YouTube or you're on LinkedIn and Facebook, we've got the one and only Jeff Janakovo chiming in saying, "There's the real rock star of Primeau Furniture Sales."
100%.
Jeff knows, right?
Jeff knows. Everybody knows.
Andrew Burt says, "Nice to meet you," Jenny, as well. And the other half of Gardner's Mattress and More, Ben McClure says, "Hey, Jenny, it's good to see the brains behind the Primeau operation."
Yes.
The brains, the personality, the everything.
So I really, that's a great, I love that story. And we're talking many years ago, right? And so you guys have, maybe gotten in a few disputes over that time, business wise, right? And so, I'd love to. I'll roll it out to you. I mean, I say ladies first, but I think I have a feeling like if Pete goes first, Jenny, you'll be able to sort of fill in the cracks and maybe fact check some of this information. You're already doing it, right? So, a lot of couples have this trouble. Real difficulty working together really well. I would love for you guys to each, answer this question. What would you say is the most important factor as it relates? And what are the secrets, spill the tea, as the kids say. What do you think is the reason that you guys can do this so well for so long?
That's a great question. I would say, first of all, the idea that it's perfect all the time is probably not accurate. And I would say 99.9% of the time, it's me that's being a hypertard and getting all riled up. I mean, Jenny is truly the voice of reason at Primeau Furniture Sales. We would literally have a lot less manufacturers and probably a lot less dealers if it wasn't for her. So she is the steady one, and I am the creative and the sales guy, and I'm all over the place and needing to be corralled at times. And I would say this, one of Jenny's superpowers that she doesn't even understand that she's got is she has become, over these years, an expert at gently corralling me and making me realize I'm being an absolute idiot and I need to slow down. And before I utter another word to anybody about what we're talking about, I just need to take a little time out. It's almost like in kindergarten, they'd say, take a time out. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm still getting put in timeouts, but it's done very elegantly. And I don't even know she's doing it. And then I go, damn, she put me in a timeout. And you know what? I needed to be put in a timeout. So I'll let you answer it.
Jenny, how many timeouts have you put Pete in? If you had to guess.
Oh,
hundreds.
There's quite a few. A few. Usually I think he knows when it's a timeout just because I become very silent.
Yeah.
The silent timeout. Those are the best.
I have learned that all the skills that I use in sales to read prospects, I need to apply those equally when I'm working with my wife. And when she gets really quiet, I've screwed up. And I know that. I'm like, oh no, what did I do? And I run through the last, few things I said. I'm like, I really messed up. So yeah, I think there's another one, Chris.
I think we just both know. I mean, I think I have no problem letting him be the lead. So, and I'm more than willing to be the support person. I think for my whole life, I prefer to be the one, like that's the fixer behind the scenes and not the one out in front. So I think that has been a very good combination for us. besides the fact that I have a lot of accounting and, secretarial and all the other Girl Friday skills that he needs. So
that I'm sorely lacking and have no interest in developing would be the footnote to that.
Have no interest in. Yes.
So this is interesting. It sounds a lot like this is a lot of, knowing each other's strengths, knowing each other's weaknesses,
Right.
and then having sort of the grace, because the love is the foundation here, and saying, okay, he or she has these strengths, he or she has these weaknesses or opportunities, let's call them, and how can I sort of fill in those cracks? How can I do this because of the greater good? So
Right.
I'll roll this over to you, Jenny, and because ladies first, and I have a feeling you're gonna nail this question. You're gonna knock this one out of the park. Pete talked a lot about his weaknesses. What are some of Pete's strengths?
Oh, let's see. Well, I think, he definitely is completely committed, and both of us are. We're both committed to our whole, doing the right thing for our dealers, for our manufacturers. I think we really are unique sometimes in that respect, because we aren't working for just one side. We are truly the middle ground between them. And I think we do, and Pete does a phenomenal job of making sure that what we do is really fair for all sides, not just for one side. Other than that, he is, I think he sees the big picture a lot of times. I tend to get caught up in all the details, and I think, he is much more driven to see bigger things, bigger opportunities.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing, where I am more, get into the details and complete tasks.
Yeah, and sometimes getting too much into the details keeps us from moving forward, right? It gets us stuck if we're too focused on the details. Pete, I'm going to roll this over to you. What opportunities did you see in the business that Jenny had presented that you could fill in? You noticed I didn't say what were Jenny's weaknesses. I know better than to say that.
She really, I don't see any weaknesses. I see somebody who is my absolute most favorite person in the world. I admire her work ethic. I admire her creativity. And she would say she's not creative, but I've watched her be creative. And now here's a funny story. She'll sit there and still to this day say, I'm not in sales. She is in sales. And I will listen. I'll be like running between rooms and overhear her. So, okay, I have the order for the twins and the fulls and the queens. You didn't order any kings. Do you need any kings? And then she sits there and says she's not a salesperson. And it cracks me up. And I'm like, and I just walk by and I'm like going too fast for my own good 90% of the time. And I go, you just did it again. And she's like, what? You're a salesperson. And then she wants to protest, but I'm gone. So that doesn't happen. So
I'm an opportunist.
Well, a lot of salespeople walk right past their opportunities. They get an order and they run away with it. They don't ask about the other sizes. And the reality is, our dealers, and this because, for the first couple of years, you went with me to the stores until we had Christiana. You used to go with me on store visits. And, a lot of people forget that. and you see what our poor dealers go through. I mean, they wear 100 hats. They're going 100 miles a minute. That's the one thing that I share with almost all the store owners. We're all going too fast for our own good. And when you remind somebody about something, or if there's a special on something and they didn't add it, I've seen you do that so many times, it's ridiculous. So I affectionately called Jenny our sales manager. So she will make a comment about, you're doing a really good job of getting that special out. And so is blah, blah, blah. And so is blah, blah, blah. But the other guy, not so much. And I go, okay. So I kind of abdicate my sales management stuff. And this is probably something that gets on her nerves. All I want to do is sell. I don't want to be a sales manager, right? I just want to sell. And so I'm selling. And then when she brings it up and I look at it and I go, yeah, she's right. Now I have to put my sales manager hat on and have a talk with that rep about, hey, are you showing this? Blah, blah, blah. We're having a lot of success, blah, blah, blah. And I absolutely dread it. So we call her the sales manager because I just don't want to do it. And it's kind of not fair, but she's good at it. I will tell you that. Anybody that can take a type A like me and kind of get him to go in one direction is special.
Outstanding. So we've got some folks chiming in the chat. Frank here says, that's all I did, sell, baby, sale. Thank you, Frank, for joining us from Facebook. Tim Clanky said, one of Pete's strengths, his bench press back in the day.
Yes.
Well, that
preferably the one where he doesn't drop it on his neck. But thankfully, I was proactive and made sure we got married before so he would have health insurance.
So, yeah,
wow.
This is very interesting. Tim, thank you. I'm sure she paid you to ask this question.
Yeah.
Or make this comment. So we were actually married. We were scheduled to be married on June 19th, and we were back in California, with her, her pastor and her family. But we got married. Was it in April, Jen?
April 2nd.
Yeah, it was in April. And we did it because if I told you how much money I was making, you'd throw up. And you probably wouldn't believe me, so I'm not going to bother with that. Yeah. But I was so stupid, Chris, that I didn't have health insurance. Could have afforded it. It was just me, and I didn't have health insurance. So we got married by the justice of the peace so that we had health insurance. And bigger than life, one of the spotters, when I was benching 600 pounds, missed the bar. It bounced off my neck. And by some miracle, I was okay, but we did have to go to the hospital and get a CAT scan. And it was all covered under Jenny's health insurance from her employer.
Wow.
So, thank you, Miss Jenny.
Yes.
And I could, and I'm going to tell you something funny, Chris. Jenny was so quiet on that trip back. And I just said, whatever it is, Pete, like what's the number, Pete? You gotta hit your number and you got to get out of this game because you're killing this poor girl. I mean, she's literally fighting back tears, and she's not the one that's going to sit there and cry and be hysterical and show me, but I could tell like I scared the crap out of her. Heck, I scared the crap out of me. I woke up and I said, there's powerlifting in heaven, because I thought I was dead. I mean, I knew what happened. I knew the bar dropped. I felt it hit my neck. I just didn't know the other guy held on for dear life, and the guy caught it on a bounce. So my esophagus, gave, and all I had was a bruise and an abrasion. But and I finished the meat, by the way. That's important to know. Okay. If you're a Neanderthal like me.
Yes.
We've got some more folks chiming in from the chat. Our friend Rocky Jr., RJ, Vernon Williams. So nice to see the best side of the Primeau family. This is keep it coming. Keep busting Pete's chops. He needs that balloon pop. By the way,
that
Jenny,
is my special superpower.
Yes, it is.
It's one of them.
It's been brought up many a time on the show. And did you notice in the intro video that somebody says it's an honor to be here. You're the best, Pete, or something like that, and Pete says something to the effect of, "I'm a." What do you say, Pete? Like,
a legend in my own mind, says my wife.
There you go. A legend in my own mind, says my wife. That's in the intro.
Yes,
I heard in the intro.
Amazing. And our friend Steve Hauk is joining us. Nothing says I'm a man like I finished the meat. Yes.
Make sure everybody knows that.
Right, exactly. And you see how he leaned in.
Important.
Yeah.
The last time I lifted competitively was over 20 years ago, and it's still important to me.
We've got a couple of things here from our friend Gordon Hecht, and so I wanted to get here first to a comment and then a question from him. He says, "Kudos to both of you for balancing work and life. A note from my ever-loving bride. Quote, I married him for better or worse, but I didn't marry him for lunch." Okay. Okay, and then this is a question here from Gordon. How do you keep from focusing on business talk during your off time, or do you?
So I'm going to.
It is very difficult.
Oh, here we go. Ladies first. She's ready. Yeah. She's ready to say it. Pete, let your guests talk.
That's definitely an area where we really struggle, I think, because. I mean, with cell phones, there is a constant barrage of business that just comes and comes and comes. And it definitely is. It's very difficult to get that balance where you have to, I mean, we do try now more recently to go for walks, and we really try to have those be non-business walks. But it's hard. I mean, it really is. It's difficult because, we don't get a lot of time. He travels. I'm at home. We obviously have our daughter, that's getting grown now. She's 18. So she's going to be going off to college. And so that'll be a new era for us, but it's definitely hard. I mean, we are definitely on business most of the time. And so it's definitely an area where we have to really schedule time, whether it's going to a movie or something where we just turn off our phones for at least a couple of hours and just spend time together, because it's definitely challenging.
Pete, what do you say to that?
I agree 100%. So we call it, if I've had it and I don't want to talk about business at a lunch, I will say, like, when we're on our way, like, whatever we got to talk about, let's talk about it. I don't want to talk about it at lunch. And she will do the same thing sometimes. But it's rare. It's rare because we're both so committed to the business. We're committed to our dealer's business, and we passionately care, both of us, very deeply. So it's hard to push it away, especially if there's something that's going on, and there's always something going on. And so we really do have to fight for that time, and we're getting better at it. And we will call it. And sometimes we could just be at home and just say, like, all right, enough. Let's talk about us. Let's talk about, Christiana going to college,
Right.
So, but we are, it's been a fault of both of us, probably equally. I mean, there are times when I really just don't want to talk business, and Jenny has to get answers from me.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
no. And it's like, and she's like, well, what am I supposed to do if you won't even talk to me about it? So that's a great question.
Yeah.
And I encourage every couple that works together. You've got to fight for your other life, for your personal life. You have to, at times, just pry yourself away from the business. And there's this thing that's in us, all of us, human beings, where, we get blessed with some success, and we've seen where other people mess up and they pull back. Well, no one could ever say that about me and Jay, because we don't pull back nearly enough. And we've seen other people, some that we're close to, some that we're not close to, have this success and then it fall apart. And so I think that's part of what drives us. But I think you have to have a grounding that says, you know what, my marriage is more important than the business.
Yeah.
And you couldn't tell by the amount of conversations that are had in a day that are business related and personal related. You could never tell. You'd just say, you guys are just hopeless. You're just both workaholics and all you talk about is work. I mean, so every once in a while we'll see something weird come up on like a screen on TV, the few times that I'm actually home and we're watching it. And it'll say some like weird internet thing. And I go, they're listening. And she goes, good. She goes, if they're listening, they're going to be bored out of their minds because all we talk about is the mattress business.
This is
I
great.
think too, though,
Yeah, sure.
I think one of the things that if people are working together, I think it's super important that they schedule a time, whether it's daily or every, Friday, Monday, whatever it happens to be, to just kind of do a rundown of what's happened this week, what's going to happen this week, what they have on the agenda, just to try to get answers to the things that they really need to get answers to, especially, with Pete traveling. I mean, he's on the road a lot. And, so I don't necessarily, have the ability to just kind of call out and say, hey, what about this thing? Or what about that thing? So I think people should just make sure that, schedule time for your personal stuff, but also just schedule some time to kind of get on the same page of where you're at in your business.
I love that. A couple that are dear friends of mine and my wife, they're marriage coaches, and we've worked with them on their podcast and done a number of things. They're just dear friends of ours. And a tip that they gave to us was, especially if you have a family and you've got, Christiana, who's now going to be going off, and you guys will be, I guess, empty nesters, right?
Yes.
Is to, if you have a meeting for your business, you have like a, whether it's on a Monday or on a Friday, what happened this week, how are we going to start next week off, right? Wherever that fits into your work schedule, why are you not having a meeting for something that is even more important than your job, which is your marriage? Right. So you're talking about time blocking, right? For your work. Do you guys have some sort of strategy to time block or to do something for your personal life, like date night or something to where you meet collectively as a family to discuss college funding and to discuss, things around the house, stuff like that?
Not as much as we should, probably.
Not as much as we should, but we like to see we like to see movies often on a Tuesday afternoon.
Because it's cheaper on Tuesdays.
Oh, okay.
Well, there's specials on
pro
Tuesday.
Tip.
And the other thing is, that's a lighter day for us.
Yeah.
The heavy days are Monday's heavy, and the weekend tends to be heavy too. People are calling, people are giving us orders. Orders can happen anytime. but they tend to happen more on Monday and more over the weekend. The other thing that I would say is the walk-in has become very much our time together.
Yeah.
And I think it's huge. And a big shout out to Janakovo. That was one of his ideas. Because he's listening to this. He's going, you guys got to make some time for yourself. You guys just don't have enough time for just you guys. You know, like guilty. Jenny's
I know
like,
they even made internet up in the Adirondacks. So our reprieve, our annual reprieve went away.
it did go away. We used to have to drive into town about a half hour to get internet when we wanted to.
Right.
And we really didn't want to. We did it like once a day or once every other day.
Yeah.
But, that went away. One time we went to Marcia's camp. That's my cousin. And like they got internet. And I'm like, oh, because we're like moths to the flame and we're both equally bad. Like, not like one or the other. It's like both bad and often not bad at the same time. And that's the challenge. Like when one wants to do the personal and the other wants to do the business at the same time, that can be a challenge. And that's just when you have to communicate. And that's I would say my biggest tip would be for anybody that works, like, do not allow your work to consume your life and make sure you communicate. You gotta, you gotta tell somebody how you feel.
Yeah.
Because they may not know. Now, I tend to be very expressive, but
I tend not to be. So I kind of let it pile up.
Well, her silence scares me. When that happens, I'm like, okay, I'm going to open up that can of worms.
Stepped over some boundary.
I'd rather take it now than let it pile up and get an axe when I'm sleeping or something.
Well, I don't
Even
think
though there's been no evidence of that.
Well, it also sounds to me like you guys hold each other accountable, right? So you know that there are these things and you're like, oh gosh, he's going to be on his phone or she's going to be on his phone, but you guys both understand. So do you communicate with each other when you start to see someone slip into going into too much work mode and needing to go out on, into walk mode? Do you hold each other accountable and how do you communicate that?
I constantly encourage, especially when I'm traveling, like I like to walk with Jen when I'm home, which isn't a lot. But when I'm traveling, I'm like, hey, do something for yourself, and what she's been doing a lot of for herself. She joined a hiking club and that's been great. Right.
Yeah. Shout out to the Cleveland Hiking Club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're not a sponsor. We can't shout them out too much, Jen.
Okay.
No. Speaking of sponsors, Steve Houck says, Jenny, thanks for letting Pete take my calls and blend those lines of business and family time.
Yes.
Yeah. And
we do that every now and again.
Yeah.
And the one and only legendary Chris Tahini says, Pete and I have in common that our better halves came here from Europe. When they came to America, they thought they were arriving in the land of opportunity. They met us and realized it was more like the land of, well, this'll do.
Oh, that's
Chris,
good.
did Jenny pay you to say that?
Yeah.
Oh,
I do say there is a lot to I think that I came obviously from Sweden, and there definitely is a very strong work ethic that was just instilled in me by my parents. And, I mean, we built a house, a summer house in Sweden that they pretty much built on their own. And it's just who we are. And I think that, we're not afraid to work, I mean, but it does make it that much more difficult to kind of carve out personal time.
Yeah. That's interesting. You brought up your parents. So So were they in business for themselves? Did you work with them on the business?
No. So my dad was a mechanic. So he was an
Okay.
auto mechanic. So he always kind of had his own business. So my mom, I grew up, this whole support thing was definitely modeled to me, because she would, she worked full time. But in the evenings, she would be writing up invoices and kind of doing some of the bookkeeping and all of that kind of stuff. So, I mean, that definitely has come naturally.
Interesting. So Pete, I'm gonna roll this back over to you. How talk about your upbringing, and were there models and influences that brought to you to where you're at, and why you're more of the idea guy and less the Excel guy?
So my mom and dad both worked until I think my mom stopped being a nurse when I was in the 4th or 5th grade, and then she was a full-time at-home mom. My dad always had a couple of different jobs and always did stuff around the house. Probably the hardest working man that I ever met in my life, other than Enzo Mastriani.
Yes.
Enzo might be the hardest working guy I've ever met in my life. It's so bad that there's a body imprint in his car, like where he sits, and in the back of his seat, there's a body imprint. I mean, I don't know, 40 to 60,000 miles a
Yeah,
year
you
on
put
the
on a
car.
lot of miles yourself.
He's probably around 80,000 miles a year. And if he said he went over 100 a couple of times, it wouldn't surprise me. But my dad was a very hard worker. So my dad was kind of the dreamer. He was kind of, you can be anything you want to be. And my mom was the, don't give me your Mr. Positive attitude, Pete, Peter Primeau. And, I had two very different role models in my head. Now, my mom was great. If you were ever in trouble, she had you. I mean, she was going to do whatever it took to help you. But on an everyday, day in and day out basis, she was a worrywart. I am not a worrywart at all. I'm exactly like my dad. I just got a phone call on Saturday. Somebody said, "So what you think about Saturday night?" I'm like, "What happened on Saturday night?" Well, the bomb, Iran got bombed. I don't know if it's God's will. I think it's a good idea, but if it's not God's will, I don't think it's a good idea. I don't know. He goes, "Are you serious?" It's our friend Jerry. He was doing an add-on order, and he goes, "You really don't watch TV." I really tried to avoid it at all costs. And I had completely forgotten. Jenny had said something to me, and I put the TV on like I'm going to watch this. And I said, "What am I doing? I'm not watching this. I'm going to bed." Either I wake up in heaven or I wake up in Cleveland. Either way, I'm good. So yeah, my mom and my dad were stark contrasts. I chose to be the positive guy. And sometimes I do get ragged on a little bit by people going like, "Really? Are you really that positive?" I go, "Dude, when I wake up, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. It's just the way I've chosen to live my life. That's all." So
I love it. That's great perspective. So let's roll this back into the business a little bit. These are like really great stories, and I'm loving this. And I know a lot of the folks here in the chat. Listen, if you have any questions at all for Pete or Jenny, please chime in. You take precedent over the questions that I have for sure. But I'm curious about, from a business perspective, when you guys run into situations, this situation is just not going the way we want it to, right? And I know things are, vary. It could depend on the person. It could depend on the issue. But how do you manage that sort of? How do you go into crisis management? As working together as a business and not let it affect your actual relationship.
I guess it goes to FU money, doesn't it? So my sales manager, Tommy Neiman, he said, Pete, with this deal that you just put together, you're going to be a very wealthy young man. And he goes, I don't get into my guy's personal life, but I'm going to say this to you. Because before you get the bigger house, before you get the really fancy cars, before you spend a ton of money on your wardrobe and have the best of everything, I want you to put enough money away that you could live for a year, maybe 2 years. And if any company ever asks you to do something you don't want to do, you could just say F you and walk away. And so thanks to my wife, when I first met her, she looked at my desk and she should have run the other way. She should have known, oh my gosh, this guy's really nice. He's really sweet, treats me well, but this guy is a mess. Look at this desk. She found a check. Was it a year old or more than a year old?
I don't know. It was old.
And she called the CFO of the company. And he goes,
"Can I still deposit this?"
And she asked, can I still deposit this? And he goes, yes, I've been wondering where that check went. I went to call him a couple of times and then I just got busy doing other things. But I will say this, the magic of Jenny Primeau is this. From the day I met her till now, other than a couple little bumps in the road that I caused, we have been unbelievably blessed. And so with that foundation, sometimes I'll look at her and sometimes she'll look at me and we'll just say, you know what? In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter. Like we're getting all hyper because we don't like what's happening. We might lose a dealer. We might lose a manufacturer, but neither one is ever going to be the end of the world for us at all. It's just not. Do we want it to be sunshine and rainbows all the time for every one of our dealers and every one of our manufacturers? 100%. But that's not life. And so I think that we have a really strong foundation that almost gives us an unfair advantage. Jenny does remind me of my mom in this. She has this ability when it gets really, really hairy, when most people would be freaking out, she just becomes very, very analytical. And see, I become very emotional. And then she'll say something like, Pete, we do have FU money. Oh yeah, we have FU money. We don't need to be worried about this other than it's affecting our dealer or it's affecting our manufacturer. And we don't want anything bad for either of those. And I think Jenny did a great job explaining this tightrope that we feel like we walk on. We constantly want to do the right thing for our dealers and constantly want to do the right thing for our manufacturers. And a lot of reps cross the line on either side of that. And neither one is good. It has to be balanced. At the end of the day, it has to be balanced. But Jenny becomes very analytical when I start to wig out. Then she brings me back down. And then we have a talk. And usually we're able to figure it out. And, sometimes we buy into other people's false arguments about a situation. And that's when we start to escalate and it starts to become a bigger problem than it really is. And the reality is it's not going to change the way we live one way or the other. So, we just need to kind of do the right thing. And sometimes, heck, Jenny and I, more than one time, we've issued refunds that our manufacturers didn't support us on.
Yeah.
Written checks to our dealers for things. No one does that. No one. Now Enzo does, but he's the only
Enzo
one.
does. Enzo does that.
Enzo's the only one who's really like us that way.
Yeah.
So, what would you say? Did I miss something on that one?
I don't know. No, I think we've just been fortunate that, you know, I mean, there's been times when it was definitely, you know, more difficult. I mean, when you're an independent rep, I mean, you get paid whatever you sell. And when a big dealer goes away, or, you know, we've definitely, you know, over the years, you know, looked to diversify as much as we can so that, you know, there is a safety net, you know, when you need one, because manufacturers do go away all of a sudden. And it's like, wow, okay.
Yeah. And
You know,
dealers go away.
overnight they go away.
Yeah. Dealers go away too.
Dealers go away. I mean, it's definitely, you know, so I think that, I mean, we're fortunate that we've always, you know, well, at least since I came on board, we definitely, you know, make sure that we live very frugally, and we can always, you know, kind of weather those kind of storms.
I love that. I love the fact that, you know, no matter if things are going really great or if they're bleak at times, you don't get too high or too low in those situations. It sounds to me like you guys are grounded enough to understand, you know, that if you consider whatever you're getting a blessing, right? And you consider, you know, that, you know, especially Pete, you've shared, you know, before, like where you've come from, and you know, where there may not have been, you know, the amount of money that you were, and so you look at it as a blessing. And so when you do that, you don't immediately think, oh, I just need a little bit more and I can get the boat, or I just need a little bit more and I can get house number 3, or I get a little bit more and I can get this, and all you do is you have. You know, in the words of rapper Notorious B.I.G., "Mo money, mo problems," right? And so I love the fact, I think that's fantastic advice for anyone, and no matter where they're at, whatever business that they're at. It's like, if you understand that here in America, where we are, you know, we can do what we love to do and get paid money for it, which is a blessing in and of itself. And if you treat it like that, and you could say, hey, I get to wake up today, and I get to have the physical ability to go and hike or go for a workout, and I get to put gas in my tank and food in my belly, and I get to talk to people that, you know, like Chris Teheny and Jeff Janakovo and Ben McClure on the phone or whatever, and have that, and you treat it like that. You're not in it for yourself, and I think it's a fantastic perspective. So, speaking of perspective, mindsets, attitude, what would you say would be like maybe top 3, or just whatever comes to the top of your mind, like mindsets or attitudes for couples that work together, that, you know, what's the best sort of, you know, top 3 mindset or attitudes for these couples who work together? I think you guys, you know, we're learning a number of things already that I've talked about, but what would you guys say that that maybe you've modeled other couples' behaviors, or, you know, have, you know, influences yourself? You know, what's the mindset or attitude you think it needs to be the foundation, Pete?
Thankfulness. We're blessed. I mean, the money's one piece of it, but after I got air conditioning and I had a couple houses and a few cars and they're all paid for, I don't need much else. I'm not a fancy guy. Still eat peanut butter and jelly. Thankful for being able to make a difference in dealers' lives, being able to have a dealer look at me and say, you know, Pete, if you hadn't come along, I would have lost my business. To me, that's more important than the money will ever be.
Mm.
And we've heard that from multiple dealers over the years. So super blessed, very thankful. And I think, it's really important to remember when you're working with your spouse, who should be the most important person in your world, that you treat them that way always. And when you don't, come back and apologize and mean it. Really mean it. Like, you should mean it to the point where you're in tears. And I have to do it at least once a month, if not more. That's just, I can't get any more real than that. And Jenny is gracious. She goes, I know what you were going through. I know who you are, what you're about. And she knows I'm a hypertard sometimes. It's because I care. I really care about my dealers. I care about my manufacturers. And one of those things gets out of whack, I can just absolutely flip out. And it's not pretty when it happens. And I wish I was better and it never, ever happened, but it happens. And
I think it's important that that you really think about how you are speaking to people. It's very easy. We tend to treat the ones we love the worst. They see the worst side of us. And I think that it's super important that you really think about how you talk to one another, how you maybe change direction or have somebody change direction when you're, not necessarily thinking they're going in the right direction, but you can't really come out and just say, listen, you're wrong. This is not the way we're going, but how you can kind of gently, change the direction that you're going in.
I'll give you an example of her doing that with me. So it's like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I don't know which week after my surgery for one of my knees. She's like, the rehab seems to be really going well. And I'm like, yeah, it's going great, man. I'm ahead of schedule, blah, blah, blah. She goes, do you think your dealers miss you? This is get this guy out of my house, get him back on the road. And how do I make him think it's his idea?
Yeah.
Brilliantly done.
I have to be very diplomatic.
I think your dealers miss you. They probably love to see you.
I come out to California for, 4 to 5 weeks every year this time, my time away from the office, obviously, to visit my mom and
also the time to make her husband
more self-sufficient and appreciate all the things that miraculously happen every night.
Like getting ready for a podcast interview and making sure your microphone is hooked up. Jenny,
right.
For those of you who obviously if you're here in the show, it's like Jenny is IS&T among other things for Pete. So if something is happening with his computer, we get to see Jenny or hear Jenny back there fumbling with cables and turning on lights and all kinds of stuff. Yes. Well, today obviously Jenny is not there, and so we had lots of fun hooking up Pete this morning. But we got the train on the rails and we got it. So let me just, I want to leave with one final thing if I could. And, sure. You guys this has been outstanding show. I'm getting a lot. I'm getting a lot of good marriage advice out of this, but I'll Pete, I'll let you go first and we'll let your better half close this out. What is one thing that your partner has taught you about business? One thing.
I already said it. The importance of questioning everything and not responding in the moment, and putting yourself in a little bit of a timeout and really thinking things through. My joke is, my wife is my support. She's my sales manager. She's my therapist. She's everything. And yeah, putting myself in a little timeout and really thinking things through is one of the things that I've learned from her.
Power in the pause.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Jenny, how about you?
Well, I guess for me, I am generally my daughter's boyfriend just ran by the window outside to do that to me. So thank you, Bryce.
I hope he had clothes on.
Shout out to Bryce.
Yes, thankfully. Yes, thankfully. I think for me, it's just, people really need to make sure they take time out for themselves. I think it is so difficult. I think, with us, we obviously both are committed and, doing whatever we need to do. I know for me, it's very difficult to take time for me. I am the one that feels the pressure really that, well, this has to get done. This has to get done. This has to get done. Pete is much better at, saying, well, I'm going to go do my workout and I'm going to do this, or, and I am more the one that has to really struggle to take the time away. So I think that, really making sure that you are taking the time for self-care, because
That's
you're no
huge.
good. You're only as good as, what you have to give. And when you're on empty, you're on empty.
Especially our store owners, they work so hard and they put that business first. And, a lot of times they're not eating right. A lot of times they're not making the time to exercise.
Yeah.
They're physically and emotionally falling apart, because when I get my workouts in, I'm emotionally more well-heeled automatically. If I get my CrossFit workout in, I lift weights and I get my walk in, I'm golden. I can handle anything. If I don't get that stuff in for a few days, there's going to be a little extra nervous energy in me that is not like a good thing. So I would really encourage everyone to take what Jenny said to heart about self-care. And you guys know what you're doing that you shouldn't be doing. But here, I'll just give you one super easy thing to do. Just make sure you drink enough water. If you drink enough water, you crowd out all the other bad stuff. I don't care if it's pop or it's beer, whatever it happens to be. If you just get the water in and you get a walk in, you're going in the right direction. So
Yeah.
Chris, thanks. This is amazing. I know we ran over, but we had Superstar on here, so we had
we got to get every possible second we can get with Jenny Primeau. So
yes, because you're only going to get her once.
Oh, stop!
That is not true.
After you rewatch this, you're going to want to do it all the time. You did great.
Oh, really?
For those of you who are listening,
you have exposed many talents in me, Pete. So
I know you're a salesperson / accountant / therapist / You are really literally the girl Friday can do it. Can do it.
That has always been my kind of,
let's go.
Thing
we can do this.
I definitely tend to be able to. Well, I'm kind of a self-starter, and I think that's the part that, I don't need a lot of direction, and I think that's what companies in the past have always appreciated, is that I tend to just take the bull by the horns and go for it.
I love it. I love it. You two are adorable. This has been amazing. And Pete, I'll let you sign us off, and we'll go from there.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for being with us. Loved your questions and your comments. Tim Clanky, awesome job. Jenny and Pete. Squirrel, Royal Bateman. What are you benching nowadays? 100 pounds.
Oh.
Not 7.
Not enough for him.
Not 705. I did, after shoulder surgery, having both shoulders replaced in October and December, I did 55-pound dumbbell bench presses times 10 on Saturday. In Royal, I was proud of myself. So proud I called my wife to tell her.
Yes.
55-pound
me
dumbbells.
know.
That's not bad. That's
It's not bad. It's not
No.
bad. It's not bad, but it's not good for me either.
Well, I'm glad you're not doing anything stupid. So that's good.
You sound like me talking to my kids. That's usually what we say before they go out with their friends.
Yeah.
Just don't do anything stupid. Right.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Go forth and sell 1 million this week. Take
And
care.
have fun.